Brandon of the Bloody Blade was a legendary warrior hero of the ancient First Men who led a genocidal war against the indigenous Westerosi races of the Giants and the Children of the Forest, which resulted in him clearing out the land that would later become the Reach, until one day the Children of the Forest turned him into an evil.
The war is not over. And I promise you, friend, the true enemy won't wait out the storm. He brings the storm.
Welcome back to the channel. Spoiler alert. One of the first men to fight the Children of the Forest for a long time, the Night King was formerly a mortal man. A small band of green seers caught the poor guy as the children were losing the war, and they chained him to a heart tree for a dreadful purpose. Among the party was Leaf, who plunged a cursed dragonglass dagger into the captive's chest, converting him into the first of the White Walkers and making his eyes blue. Leaf tells Bran Stark, thousands of years later, that the White Walkers were her people's way of defending themselves against the First Men, who were destroying their holy trees and killing the Children of the Forest when they invaded Westeros. But before long, the White Walkers betrayed their creators and started the Long Night. 2. The Night King lived and withdrew with the rest of his species to the lands of Always Winter, where they hid and vanished into legend, even though the Long Night came to an end with the First Men and Children's victory in the War for the Dawn. When Bran Stark communes with a weirwood heart tree, he first sees the Night King in a vision. Images from the past, present, and future, many of which he was not physically present for, suddenly overwhelmed him. In hindsight, one of these images shows the Night King removing the last of Craster's sons from an ice altar, but he was unable to interpret any of them at the time. A White Walker brings the infant to a broken mountain in the lands of Always Winter, where it is placed on an icy altar surrounded by enormous icy spikes after Rast leaves Craster's final son on the ground in the haunted forest. It is discovered that 13 White Walkers wearing black clothing are observing the events from a distance. One of them leaves the center of their group and moves toward the altar, pausing briefly to look at the human infant before taking him in its arms. The infant instantly becomes calm and looks directly into the Night King's face. The baby's eyes turn steely blue and its skin turns pale when he presses his index finger on its cheek, a reaction that is probably what happened to Craster's other kids. When Tormund Giantsbane and Jon Snow are organizing the Hardhome evacuation, the Night King reappears. He watches from one of the cliffs above the town with a small group of White Walkers as Jon uses Longclaw, a Valyrian steel sword, to kill one of his lieutenants. The Night King, taken aback by his significant resistance, observes this change of events with mild curiosity. The Night King shows up on the wharf and makes eye contact with Jon as he, Tormund, and the other defenders board a boat to depart. The Night King raises all of Hardhome's fallen but former defenders as whites with a simple lift of his arms, and he continues to stare at Jon while the boat disappears. In one of Bran Stark's dreams, the Night King makes an appearance. There, he is seen by Leaf and other Children of the Forest as a person who has been changed into a White Walker. Following his vision, she reveals that in order to protect themselves during the conflict with the First Men, they had to form the White Walkers. Later, after taking the dangerous choice to see with his own eyes, Bran sees an army of whites in front of him, with the Night King and other White Walkers in the background. As Bran gets closer, he's startled to realize that the Night King is aware of him. Screaming, Bran awakens to find the Night King standing next to him, grabbing his arm. Bran verifies the three-eyed raven's claim that the Night King touched him by noticing a blue handprint on his forearm. The Night King can now pinpoint their exact location thanks to that mark, according to the three-eyed raven, meaning the cave is no longer able to keep them safe. The Children of the Forest and Mira Reed are alerted to the Night King and his army's impending arrival at the cave by their palpably icy aura. Outside the cave, the Children of the Forest set up their meager defenses, but they are soon overpowered and forced to flee back into the tunnels. The majority of the children and Summer are killed by the Night King's army of whites as they invade the tunnels. However, Bran, Mira Reed, and Hooder are able to escape the cavern by a back tunnel. Mira throws a spear with a dragonglass point that kills one of the other White Walkers. Upon entering the grotto, the Night King glares at the three-eyed raven, who is his natural arch-nemesis due to his recollection of the known world, before using his falx to murder him. Hooder tries to stop the whites from continuing by sacrificing himself to hold the door, but he is finally killed by them. He then sends the remaining whites to slay Leaf. Bran witnesses visions of the Night King turning Craster's final son into a White Walker, organizing a huge assault on Hardhome, and marking him with his mark while Mira pulls him through the snow. Jon Snow advises the assembled Lords of the North and the Vale who want to go home after Ramsay Bolton's defeat to get ready for winter after his triumph at Winterfell and the Citadel's confirmation that winter has arrived through White Ravens. The Night King is their real opponent, and he will not wait out the winter storms since he is the one who brings them. He warns, Westeros, implying that the war is not over even though Clay Serwyn claims it is with the loss of House Bolton. Finally leaving the lands of Always Winter and making his way towards the Wall, the Night King is seen advancing south with his army of White Walkers and Whites. Later on, Jon Snow and Sansa Stark talk about the Night King and Cersei Lannister as the most frightening foes and how the Wall still divides mankind from the White Walkers. Meanwhile, Jon Snow, who has journeyed to Dragonstone, informs Daenerys Targaryen, a royal exile who has started the last war, that she will only be ruling a graveyard if the Night King attacks, as he is the real adversary. Despite her fixation with overthrowing Cersei Lannister, the holder of the Iron Throne. When Daenerys agrees to let Jon and his people mine the dragonglass beneath Dragonstone, he leads her down into the caverns on the island. But Jon has much bigger plans for her. He wants to show her the old rock carvings made by the children of the forest, which portray them teaming up with the first men to battle the White Walkers. A carving among these bears a striking resemblance to the Night King commanding the White Walkers. Bran Stark flies a flock of ravens past the Wall to spy on the army of the dead after he warps into them. He discovers that the Night King, accompanied by a few of his lieutenants, is guiding them. The Night King glances up, and Bran is hauled out of the warging as the ravens scatter. He begs Maester Wolkan to send ravens to alert the great lords of the Night King's approach to Eastwatch by the Sea and to send them across Westeros. At the undead hunt, where Jon Snow ventured over the Wall with a group of fighters in an effort to apprehend a White as evidence for the assembled High Lords of Westeros, the Night King is present. The Night King stares at Jon for a while, recalling their meeting at Hardhome. Beric Dondarrion advises attempting to eliminate the Night King. As they are aware, eliminating a White Walker also eliminates any and all Whites it spawned. Hence, eliminating the Night King may eliminate every creature he commanded and avert the start of the Great War. The Night King throws an ice spear at Viserion, piercing the young dragon through the neck. As Daenerys Targaryen and her dragons arrive to try to save Jon and his party, Viserion smashes down into the frozen lake, disappearing under the frigid waves, leaving behind flames and blood. The king stares at the furious Jon, who seems ready to challenge him to a straight fight, but his lieutenant gives him another spear. Drogon is thrown at by the Night King, but the dragon quickly turns around and avoids it. Later, the Night King commands his Whites to retrieve Viserion's body from the water. When that is done, the Night King puts his palm on the dragon's muzzle while kneeling in front of it. A few moments later, Viserion awakens, and his eyes, which were previously a deep, cold blue, open. 13. The army of the dead is led by the mounted White Walkers from the haunted forest to the Wall, where they assemble at Eastwatch by the Sea. The Night King, riding the resurrected Viserion, breaks through the wall with his fiery breath, burning it until the easternmost part of the icy defense crumbles, destroying the castle and opening the door for the White Walkers and their army of Whites to re-enter Westeros as the Night King soars overhead toward the north. The White Walkers, under the command of the Night King, swiftly move south and assault Last Hearth, slaughtering the local populace and incorporating them into the army of the dead. Beric Dondarrion surmises that Ned Umber's discovery, nailed to a wall in the midst of severed arms arranged in a spiral, is a direct message from the Night King. The boy's corpse unexpectedly came to life, and they set it ablaze. Winterfell readies its fortifications to repel the Night King. Referencing Beric Dondarrion's previous strategy from the White Hunt, Jon Snow proposes, during a war council, pursuing the Night King. As the new three-eyed raven, Bran Stark offers to trick the Night King into thinking he is a trap by using himself as bait. The Night King will pursue him, according to Bran, since he intends to erase the world, and the three-eyed raven is its memory. The Night King leads his army from Viserion in the sky above Winterfell at the start of the Battle of Winterfell, with his lieutenants positioned along the perimeter of the forest. In order to locate him and entice him out of hiding during the fight, Bran wargs into many ravens. The Night King commands his Whites to advance through Winterfell's burned-out trenches, which were set up to stop the army of the dead from moving forward. Then, he and Jon Snow fight fiercely in the air on their respective dragons, Rhaegal and Drogon, with Daenerys using Viserion's blue flame to pursue Drogon. The Night King uses Viserion to fly down and blow a hole in Winterfell by burning down some of its walls, but Jon unexpectedly attacks Rhaegal, who engages in combat with the dead Viserion. Daenerys attacks Drogon and collides with Viserion before the Night King has a chance to slay them both. Sliding off his saddle, the Night King lands hundreds of feet below. Daenerys turns around and looks down to see the Night King standing. She gives Drogon the order to blast him with dragon fire, but to her horror, the Night King survives the explosion unharmed. He throws an ice spear at Drogon while grinning, but Daenerys takes off running to avoid it. As Jon Snow falls from Rhaegal, who is hurt after his battle with Viserion, he drops into the earth. As the Night King approaches the shattered walls of Winterfell, Jon dashes at him, but the Night King notices him, turns, and calmly lifts his arms to summon Whites from the dead that are strewn all around them. The dead rise all around the fortress as well, and the defenders inside Night are besieged by a fresh wave of whites. Even the entombed in Winterfell's crypts come to life, bursting through the barriers to assault the gathered civilians. Jon rushes toward the Night King as he gets closer to Winterfell's broken walls. However, the Night King sees him, spins around, and summons whites from the dead, who are scattered all about them with a cool head and raised arms. A new wave of whites attacks the fortress's defenders, while the dead begin to rise all around it as well. Even the dead buried deep within Winterfell's crypts resurrect, bursting through the walls to attack the assembled populace. Abruptly, Arya Stark lunges with her Valyrian steel knife at the Night King from behind. The Night King is quick to react, twisting to seize her by the throat with one hand and snatching her knife arm with the other. With one more assassination move, though, Arya lowers the blade, catches it with her free hand, and drives it into the Night King's chest, sending him flying into ice fragments. His demise sets off a series of events in which all of the whites in the army of the dead and Viserion fall to the ground, free of the curse that kept them reanimated, and the other White Walkers break apart in a similar way. The Great War comes to a conclusion with the Night King's death, bringing the victorious living people to an end. The White Walkers go extinct, and the Long Night is permanently stopped from returning with the demise of the Night King.